The number one secret, trick, tactic, whatever it is, to make sure that you don't wind up playing really boring, robotic sounding guitar solos is simply this. Always remember and consider what it is that you just played. It's just like telling a story, okay? If you don't know what you just said and are considering it, it's going to be really hard to move that story forward, right? Or a movie, whatever, you know what I mean? Just like a bunch of random scenes out there. And that's what's happening when we get that. Nothing I'm saying is important. I'm not considering it, and I'm not moving it forward. So let's get into this lesson. If you do not know, my name is Ryan Gaughan. I've been helping guitar players for over 20 years bridge the gap between their creative ideas and what they're able to play, becoming fully fretboard fluent. If you would, please hit the subscribe and bell notification to get more videos on how to make your guitar playing better. What we need to do, the first skill, is going to be getting good at directly repeating what we just played. This is a fear of a lot of guitar players. And they think because when they're in this sort of that they're being too boring and repetitive. The problem is it's not repetitive enough. The thing is, it's not anything, right? We're not really saying anything. I think of it like this. If I were to say, hi, my name is Ryan, and then somebody else was like, hi, my name is Mark. Somebody else was like, hi, my name is Patrick. They're not repeating me because we're not really saying anything interesting or compelling, right? And that's this. Right? Nothing, that's not really repeating. Even if we were to do... It isn't compelling enough to be really considered repeating and repetition. So what we want to do is say something like, hi, my name is Ryan. Oh my God, I didn't even realize that I've been here before, you know? Now I'm saying it with a little bit more emotion, right? If somebody said, hi, my name is Mark. I didn't even realize that I've been here before. Now it's like, all right, that person's definitely repeating me. So if I can throw a metronome on and just play a phrase and then directly repeat it. Play it again, directly repeat it. Play it again, directly repeat it. Over and over and over, right? Over and over and over. Make them interesting, right? But they don't have to be wild, right? We're not doing anything that's super, super crazy, you know? And not just 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? A little bit more rhythmic. It's got a little bit more bounce to it. That's it. You do that over and over and over. What you're doing is you're training the part of your brain that will directly remember what it is that you just played. Now, as you're doing it, up the speed, and up the speed of that metronome. So you can really hammer this in and it can get fast. It happens in real time. The reason that that becomes super, super useful is if you're playing... Right, you can get those little repetition motifs in there, like really quickly, rather than having to do... Right, now we've sort of like slowed down to really get that motif in there. You can do them in real time. Now I don't feel lost, and it doesn't feel like almost like I'm not going anywhere with that example. So that's why upping the speed is so useful. If you can just attach onto some of those, you'll never get lost because you're always remembering and considering what it is that you just said. Now, we get into something that's a little bit more freeform. That was still considering what it was that I was just saying. You can choose to directly repeat like we're doing, you know. Now we're going to get into, all right, I don't want to just do like phrase, repeat, phrase, repeat. This is where we get into a little bit more creativity, okay? When we're doing those repetitions, let's start with just a simple call and response. If we have our minor pentatonic here, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. 1. It's the spelling of my minor pentatonic. You can look it up online. And when we have those ones, those root notes, they feel very at home, right? We're resolved. What we want to do is build tension and then resolve. Get a little bit of an emotional arc here. What's really cool is we're going to do this in a way where we remember and consider what it is that we just said. All you have to do, I'm not going to go through a ton of examples, is play a lick that ends on a flat 3 and then play the same exact lick and resolve it to the 1. That's it. Or play a lick that ends on a flat 7 and then the exact same lick and end it on the 1. All you're doing, simple lick that ends on a flat 3 or a flat 7 in that minor pentatonic scale. Play the same thing because we're remembering and considering, and just tag a 1, a root note on the end of it. Call tension. A lick that ends on a flat 3 or a flat 7 is going to give you tension, and then play the exact same thing and resolve it. Now do that over and over and over. Up the speed, up the speed, up the speed. You're going to get really good at the repetition, which you're already good at, as well as the call and response. Now, we're going to get into a little bit more creativity. If I have a lick, right? Cool. Those go very much together, but they're not the same exact lick. It's the call and response, right, with my flat 3. And it's starting the lick exactly the same. Those last few notes are different, and then I get my resolve. Emotional spike, considering what I just said, but this is almost like that call and response would be, hey Ryan, are you here? Yes, I'm Ryan, I'm here. This would be, hey Ryan, are you here? Yeah, I'm here. Am I in the right room? Right? It's still an answer to the question. We're just moving the story forward a little bit and not directly repeating. So you're just making small changes. If you're not used to anything like this, you don't have to be wildly creative. Let's go really easy. That's all I'm going to do. 5-8 on the B, 5-8-8 on the E string. That's it, right? That's my tension. That's my flat 3. Right? And then I can do a little bit longer of a phrase, but it's moving along and it's playing a couple of the notes more times. That's it. Fine. Right? Take something. Right? First one. Right? I'm just going from 7 to 5 on my G string. And then playing the same thing, but having that first note a little bit longer, right? And changing the rhythm a little bit. You can hear that those two very much go together. Play it that way. And then I can resolve it, right? So I'm doing my call and response and just taking simple licks and changing them a little bit, right? The more you do this, the more you'll realize how much you can change a lick and it still has something to do with what you just said. This is just like when I was saying, when we have that's not the same thing. Those are licks that all have to do, phrases all strung together that have to do with the phrase beforehand, right, in a much faster way, but with no direct absolute repetition, right? Why? Because I've been doing that direct absolute repetition so much that it happens in real time. I'm moving a story forward. This is like speaking another language. If I try to tell a story in Spanish, I don't know Spanish much anymore, but let's say when I kind of did, right? It just wouldn't come out. I'm like, God, the phrases are kind of boring. I'm not used to the language. I don't really know what I'm saying, and I kind of give up. I don't need to pre-write what I'm saying if I'm going to tell a story in English. It happens in real time, right? I'm just constantly considering what I just said and remembering, obviously, and then moving that story forward. And that is the best way to make sure that you never get lost and stuck in these really boring solos. Start in your minor pentatonic, and you can take this all the way to any of the modes and anything more advanced. When we're talking about that consideration and making those smaller changes, what we eventually can get to is those two phrases moving together. Now, it did have a call, right? I ended on my flat 3, and then it did have the response ending on the 1. But that first phrase was a little bit fast, right? Moving around a lot. And then the second phrase was only 2 notes, my flat 7 and my 1, right? Slowed down to deliver the answer. So what's happening there is the consideration, the remembering what I just said was, hey, I just said something really fast. Maybe to answer it or to follow it or to move the story along, I want to take a breath and go a little slower. That is still remembering and considering. It doesn't have to be that direct repetition. When we start making those changes and making more changes and making more changes, that's eventually where we get to. That being said, if this sounds like a lot to remember, it's not. This is just training, okay? This will just make its way into your playing so you don't have to think about it anymore, because what you're doing is strengthening that remembering muscle so we don't get into nowhere land. So, thank you guys for watching this whole video. If you are stuck in that sort of boring pentatonic or really any scale robotic guitar solo plateau that we all get into, and you really want to bridge the gap between your creative ideas and what you're able to play, becoming fully fretboard fluent, you can comment pro below and we can get started chatting a little bit to see where your guitar playing is. I do have a free training, 3 steps to full fretboard fluency, below as well. Or you can book a free consultation call to see if you're right and ready for the Fretboard Fluency Mentorship Program. All of those links in the description. Thank you again for staying till the end, and I will see you in the next video.